Hi, I'm Katrin from the Matura Express team, and today we're going to talk about self-introduction, so stay tuned for talking about your career. Okay, so as I've said before, today we're going to talk about self-introduction. Last week we also talked about self-introduction, but about your education, so school and subjects and stuff. So today we're going to change to talking about your career, meaning that we talk about your workplace basically and career steps. Therefore, I put together this simple thing, and so you see we're going to look at the tasks of self-introduction, then I have a little call for action. We're going to look at some vocab that might come in handy for you. We're going to look at your career history, what questions you can expect there, your current company, what to talk about in that section, role and responsibilities that you might have in your company, and career plans. And then at the end, I just have some little hints and tips. So let's start with the most obvious. We're going to talk about self-introduction, which is the very first part of your exam. And the task is you will be asked some questions about your career future plans. That's basically always the same. And we're going to concentrate on career and future plans, as I've said before. So, your call for action. If when you think during this stream that about these things, if I was asked the question of, and then you think about something, oops, there's a typo. How would I answer it? Yeah, and you want to know how you could answer this and that question, you're just going to type it in the live chat, and then we'll get back to that. Or if I was asked about the topic of my hobbies, not my career plans, what could I say to this? How would I say that? So if you really want to know about your specific career, your specific company, how you could answer some questions, type it in the live chat, and then we'll get back to that. Okay. So then, self-introduction, some handy vocabulary. So the first part, when you talk about your career and you want to say, I was trained as, I work as a nurse, I was trained as an engineer, I'm employed, I'm an apprentice. This is basically the most basic vocabulary, so that you can say what you're trained for, meaning what have you learned, what did you do after school. So ausgebildet sein als etwas, what you currently work as. Ich arbeite als Verkäufer, so I work as a shop assistant, or I'm employed as a shop assistant. That's basically kind of the same. It depends on what you want to say afterwards. If you want to put in front that you work, what your work is, what you do on a daily basis, you would say I work as a shop assistant. If you want to talk about your company, you probably would rather choose I'm employed as a shop assistant. And then the last thing, to be an apprentice, that might fit to some of you, but not all of you, is that you're still an Auszubildender. So for the second part, it's about talking about your company. Do they sell something? Verkaufen sie etwas? Do they promote something in a particular section, or are they in charge of something? So that gives you basically three directions to talk about your company, what they do, what they want to do, what they believe in and stuff. And then obviously when you talk about your company, you talk about your working hours. It's like part-time, full-time, shift work, flexible working hours, and that should basically be all that you need. It's Teilzeit, Vollzeit, Schichtarbeit, Gleitzeit. I don't know if there are any more working. You could have home office, that's one thing, but that's basically it. So then if you later on talk about your role and responsibilities, obviously responsibility, and it's to be responsible for, meaning Verantwortung und verantwortlich sein für etwas. Then achievement, if you want to work for a certain goal, you achieve something, you have an achievement, Leistung, Erfolg. And then if you're already one step higher on the career ladder, or if you're planning on it, then to be appointed, to be something that zu etwas ernannt werden, or also befördert werden also. And then it's when you talk about your further career, it's like aim, your Ziel, your ambition, your Ehrgeiz, but in a very positive way, not ambitious in a negative sense. You use it in a positive way, that you have good ambition, or that you're healthy, ambitious to do something. And then to be promoted to, here also befördert werden, and then to achieve, so that you achieve a certain goal that you have set yourself. So that's basically the vocab that you need. Again, if you have any other questions for words, just type it in the live chat and then we'll get back to it. Okay? So that was it for vocab. And then we'll go to our first topic that you could be asked questions about, which is most likely. It's like describing your career history. And then the just 3 questions that are most likely to come up is, what is your profession? So meaning, what have you learned? What are you trained as? What do you do? So what is your profession? And then you could say, I'm a trained nurse. I work as a shop assistant. I work as a dental health care nurse. Or I am self-employed, and then you just explain what you do. Self-employed is that you don't have any boss, that you basically have your own appointments, and that you have your tasks to do, and then you send bills to the people, they have to pay you for your work. So that is basically the first thing where you can explain to us, or to the examiners, what you do. Then also a very likely question, where did you start your training? And that is, did you explain to us where you first went after school and what you learned there? So you could say, I was an apprentice at OBI, I was an apprentice at the Volksbank, or whatever, so where you started. And then you can add, I was trained at a desk as a desk officer, or I was trained at the Volksbank to be a desk officer, whatever. And then I attended, if you have trained or if you were trained on a school basis, then you could say, I attended this and that school, this and that college, and did something else there. I don't have a good example right now, but if you have, type it in. So last question for that section, did you have any other jobs after that? So if you first started your apprenticeship, and then did you go somewhere else, or did you stay in your company? So you could answer, afterwards I was employed at a different company. Afterwards I changed companies, departments, so I changed from this company to that company, or what we're going to talk about next week in the oral exams. Afterwards I took a gap year, took a career break. So this is basically what you could expect in that section. Then let's move on, talking about your career, self-introduction, talking about your current company. I see there are no questions so far yet, so we'll just move on. So your current company, very clear, is where you work right now, and what you do there, or what they do. So what does your company do? My company sells products. My company promotes digital landlines. My company is in charge of what could they be in charge of? My company is in charge of, thinking of an example. Is in charge of maintaining the Wi-Fi building. Therefore, they do this and that. Also, my company offers special services such as making presentations. My company or my employer, if you don't work at a company, if you work in a small business and just have your boss and maybe a colleague, then you don't say my company, you say my employer, and then offers special services in education, in engineering. Just say whatever your employer or company does. Also, what is your workplace like? And that is a question where you can obviously go from the very obvious things like, do you sit at a desk? Or I work in an office. I work in an open office space with 3 to 4 colleagues. I work in an office in a big building where there are many offices on different levels, or I'm usually outside, so I don't have an office space. I work at the front desk, so I don't have, it's not my space. I share a desk with different people. So it's really about like, what does it look like? And what is necessary for your work and what is not. Then also, how are your working hours? And that is really from what time till what time do you work? How many hours do you work? I work part-time. I only work 20 hours a week. Or I work full-time. I start at 9 o'clock. I finish at 5 from Tuesday till Saturday. Or I work on a shift. I work on a shift work basis, meaning that I have 3 different shifts I attend. So the first shift, second shift, third shift, and then you just tell the examiners what the different shifts are. Also, I have flexible working hours, meaning that I have to come in from or between 9 and 11, and I can finish my work between 3 and 6 in the afternoon, and I have to fulfill 35 working hours per week. That's basically it for the company, your workplace, working hours. I don't think there's any more to that. No? Okay. Then, next topic would be the role and responsibilities. And that is basically what do you do in your company. First question, what is your role? What is your function? So why are you there, basically? Why are you important? And my role is to keep up communication between the different departments. I see myself as a very important part of the company, because without my help or without my work, the different departments wouldn't know what each other is doing. Something like that. So role, function is basically the same. And then, do you have a position of responsibility? Meaning, are you important? Do you have work that really is important, so that if it's gone, everything is in total chaos? And of course you are very important, and of course you have a position of responsibility, because I mean every work is important. So it is my responsibility to set everything up for the important meetings and conferences for the management. I'm responsible for a smooth conference, so I have to do this and I have to do that. So don't downplay yourself. Just find the hook why your work is important. And then, you can't really read that. Wait. Do you have any voluntary roles? And that could be basically anything. I volunteered for reminding everyone for maintaining the birthday calendar of the colleagues, which is very important, because then you just remind everyone it's Mrs. Miller's birthday, and so she will have a happy day, because everybody is saying happy birthday to her. Or I was appointed to be the apprentice watchdog, meaning that you care for the apprentices and listen to them, and they can come to you and tell you your problems. Or I volunteered for being the union speaker of the apprentices, meaning that you took over a lot of responsibility, but also you said, I want to do it, and you didn't have to, kind of. Okay, so what are your greatest achievements? And this is asking for basically your goals, not meaning what are your greatest achievements in somebody else's point of view, but what do you see as your greatest achievements? So you could really say, I see my greatest achievement to being part of this company, because I always wanted to work here. It was my biggest dream to get here, to get a workplace here. And so I was very relieved and very happy when my application was approved, something like that. So it's not really that you have these big, great, huge achievements. It could be small things that matter to you, that are important to you. Okay? So, this was role and responsibilities. Basically, there's still no questions. Okay, then we're just going to keep on if you don't ask stuff. So, career plans, and this is really about your future. So, really, most common question, what will your next career step be? And that is like, now it's 2018, and you're in the middle of taking your A-levels here, of doing your Matura, and then I'm thinking of applying to a different company. My aim is to get promoted to being office manager, because I took my A-levels, and yes. So that's a really common question. And then also very common, and you might know that from interviews, where do you see yourself in 5 years? So let's pretend it's 2023, and then you just say, in 5 years from now, I will have been promoted to office manager. In 5 years from now, I will have managed to get a different job at the IKEA company. By 2023, I want to be in a higher salary class, just like that. So really what you have planned for the next 5 years. If you haven't planned anything, then make something up. because I mean, it doesn't have to be something big. You could also say in 5 years, from now, I still want to work for my firm or for my company because I think I have great career opportunities there, and then you go on from there. And last question, what are your plans for your future career? So meaning it's like far in the future, kind of, I think I said it like 15 years from now. And then you could say, I have always wanted to become a manager. So I want to, so by 2033, I want to manage a small company that serves the government in projects, something. My ambition is to have finished university then and come back to my old company and plan my further career there, something like that. Yes. Okay, so this is basically all for the self-introduction. And I mean, remind yourself, it's only the first 3 to 4 minutes. You will be asked about your education and your career. So it's basically 3 to 4 questions about your career maybe that you can talk about. And here there are some hints and tips. So you could kind of lead your self-introduction not by preparing a talk, not by preparing a presentation, but by kind of pointing the examiners in a certain direction by saying, when asked about your current company, you could say, okay, my company sells smartphones. And then you can add something where you kind of lead us to the next direction. And I'm planning on staying in that company because they want to expand and I see a future career there. And then the examiner thinks, oh, okay, future career. Let's ask the second question. What do you think is your future career? Or what are you planning on being your future career? And that is how you can kind of lead the examiners. Doesn't work 100% of the time, but usually does, because obviously the examiners are also happy when you feed them something they can ask and they don't have to kind of poke around in your answers. And therefore, if you are in your course and you talk about self-introduction and you talk about career, really create a mind map or a concept map where you put everything down so that you see it on a sheet of paper, and then you can remind yourself, and then by the end of your course, before your exam, your oral exam, you don't have to go through all your notes, because you just have your sheet of paper with everything on it, because it's not very kind of like a list you have to remember, because I mean, you've done that stuff. So it's just that you can see what you have done. And you can also store that easily on your smartphone and add stuff like right after class. So that's basically for my part here. I don't think we have anything more for self-introduction, talking about your career. So really remember, self-introduction, you will be asked questions about your career, also about your education. It's very advisable that you remember the vocab, that you are very flexible in talking about history, current company, role and responsibilities, and career plans. So have something to say about all these sections. And yes, that's basically it. Anything more? No. Then I'll see you next week, where we talk about, or where we will show you some oral, 2 oral exams. One is about gap years and career breaks. The other one is about working poor. Yes, and then I'll ask my colleagues some questions I've shown you today. So thanks for tuning in, and that's it. Bye-bye.